Mr. Transformers 96 here with another video review. This time I'm going to be reviewing a NECA San Diego Comic-Con 2017 exclusive figure. This time it is Coraline from the Laika film Coraline. So this figure is essentially just a repack of a figure that they made back when this movie originally came out. The thing that's different about it though is the packaging. The packaging is completely new and different and has like a display, kind of setup quality to it. So I'll be going into that. I didn't get any of the Coraline figures when they came out. I actually didn't even know about them. By the time I learned about them, they had really shot up in price. Like those dolls go for like $150 on eBay, which is crazy. So I'm very excited to actually have an opportunity to get this. And NECA did just get the Laika license in general, so they will start producing figures based on the 4 Laika films coming up soon. And it did state that by the end of the year they will have pre-orders up for the 4 main characters of those movies. So if you missed out on this one, there is still opportunity to get more Laika Coraline figures coming up. Who knows if they'll be the same type of figures, but still I'm very excited to see what the future of the Laika figures from NECA contain. So let's go over this actual figure though, but before we go over the Coraline figure herself, let's talk about the box. Alright, so the box is kind of like somewhat of the main selling feature of this set, considering it is new. But as you can see, I do like the front of it. It has a nice Coraline display set. Got the other mother's hand there, basically, and then an image of the Coraline puppet. As you can see, it does fold open. You'd have the Coraline figure in there. This can fold down and become like a bit of a floor piece, and then you have a nice background there with the other mother, particularly from the end of the movie, looking very cool. I do like the artwork that they chose for it. I like the kind of windows with the spider effect going on, and as you can see, the same effect there is seen here, but there it's got the translucent background, so it is kind of harder to see. Do really love the floor pattern though. It's got that web effect, just like in the movie. The floor does kind of turn into this web thing, and it does go down, so it does kind of feel like it is actually part of the set of the movie. My only thing is, with all these doors here, it would have been really cool to make one of the doors like the actual passageway between the two worlds. Like, why wouldn't they just have like the last one be that? That would be kind of neat, but that's something very small, obviously. You can take this section out, which again would house the figure. As you can see, you do have some lights at the bottom and a button right here, so you can turn these on, and then you have green lights, which with lights on in the room you really can't see it. But you're supposed to put it back in there, and then this section's supposed to be lit up. But as you can see, you can't even see it. I will have to turn off these lights, and then you can kind of see it. So although I do like the idea of it, it doesn't really work very well. And what's annoying is you can see the light down here. Like, I wish that they put like an extra piece of cardboard here so that it just looked like the window was lit up. But instead you have like the bottom of the floor that's kind of lit up too, which just looks pretty odd. So I'm not a big fan of that. Overall, I think this display box is fine. It's kind of neat. I've got some weird coloring going on here. It's a fine design. Let's see if I can fix that. There we go. It's it's kind of a neat design. It's kind of fun, but it's certainly not the selling point of this. For me personally, I think that the figure herself is definitely much better than the box display. But it is kind of neat that you do have a box display if you wanted to, display this figure with a bit more of a background to it. So that's quite nice. But let's go over the actual Coraline figure. So here's Coraline Jones. Going over the actual figure here, the face sculpt I do quite like. The expression to it is neat. I like the fun, kind of happy, expressive face sculpt. My biggest issue with this is that the figure doesn't really include very much, and considering they made like 4 different versions of the Coraline figure, all of which had different face sculpts. Her face is removable, so I don't know why. It would have been great if they included all 4 of those face sculpts. That would help this feel more like an exclusive and not so much like a repack. It would be fantastic to replace her expressions, because they're all very expressive face sculpts, but all have very different expressions. So I think that would have been completely needed, and I really don't see why they didn't include that. That seems kind of like a no-brainer thing to make this feel like an exclusive. So that's quite disappointing. I would have absolutely loved that, especially if you wanted to do your own stop motion with this figure. Having the same expression and such an aggressive expression really doesn't do much, which is unfortunate. She comes with an accessory. Her only accessory is this kind of blanket. It's so thick on the sides that I thought this was a wire, but there might be a wire in there, but it's so slight I can't even tell. I don't think it is. I think it's mainly just kind of weighted a little heavier on the corners, so it'll kind of fold to what you want, but it doesn't go perfectly well. It would have been, I almost would have preferred the edges to be the same material, because this is a very soft material. I feel like it would have fallen and folded better had the edges not been so thick, but it is nice that she does come with this blanket. She obviously wears it when she first follows the mice to the door for the first time. She throws it off pretty early on though, and then at the end of the movie she wears it when she's heading to the well, so that is a nice accessory for her. But overall, the face sculpt I do definitely like. The hair is like a translucent blue, which looks alright. You know, I don't quite know how accurate it is. She does have like a rather brightish blue hair color in the movie, but I feel like translucent isn't the best way to go. But at the same time, it actually kind of looks kind of neat in the light, so I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the hair. It's kind of neat, but it's not perfect in my opinion. The eyes are movable, so she can move her eyes. You can just kind of like reach into her eye sockets if you have like a little a pen or something to actually move the eyes if you wanted to, although then you kind of risk scraping up the eyes. But man, look at how creepy that is. But as you can see, the face sculpt's removable. Why they couldn't have included those other face sculpts is beyond me. I think that would have been so perfect for this, but unfortunately they didn't. But as you can see, the eyes are in there. They move individually, and they can move quite a lot. My only issue is because they move individually, it's very hard to get them looking in the exact same position, because you kind of have to take off the face, position it where you think will look good, and then kind of put the face back on and see what it looks like. And then it's a major pain, but it is nice that she is able to do that. I definitely like the fact that she can change her eye direction. I think that's very cool. So that's nice. The figure itself is like a bendable figure. The entire thing is has a bendy wire in it basically, and then it has rubber on top. The rubber is actually pretty strong, so it does feel very secure, which is nice. You know, I always hate it when a figure has rubber. I would have much preferred this to actually just have a plastic skeleton there with actual physical joints, but unfortunately that's not the case. But it is still nice. She is still very poseable, as you can see. You can get the arms up, you know, quite a bit far. And then her clothing is pretty loose fitting, so it really doesn't hinder the articulation at all. And then the legs can go up. You can kind of feel like a knee joint in there too, or not a knee joint, but there is like a little position. There's a little piece that's kind of out a little further to kind of represent the knee. But as you can see, you can bend her. You can get her in like a bit of a crawling pose, you know, if you wanted to. As she obviously crawls through the doorway to get into the other world. Let's see. And then the neck is a bendable wire as well, but it also goes up into her head, which is a ball joint, so there is a bit of a joint on her. But as you can see, you can kind of get her in a crawling position. If you wanted to kind of makeshift your own little passageway, that would be pretty neat. That could look very cool. But her actual physical joints are the ball joint at the top of the neck, and then she does have swivel wrists. But other than that, all the articulation comes from a bendy wire, which has a rubber skeleton on top, and then the feet actually do swivel as well. How she stands, it's very hard to get her to stand without any assistance. You can do it though, like I was able to get her to stand and to take a picture of her, but it takes a lot of effort, especially since her head is like the heaviest part, which is obviously at the top, and therefore she's not very stable. But luckily, Neca thought ahead, you know, the brilliant people that they are, and they included this base. Wonderful, so smart, and it has even a little peg there. But she's wearing socks. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I don't understand why this was included, because it doesn't help in the slightest. She's wearing socks. Even if under the socks she has a peg, the feet, I don't believe, are sculpted. I mean, it's going to be really weird. And she doesn't actually, she's never barefoot in this entire movie. She always wears the socks, so I don't understand what this was. The original figures that they released came with stands that had little pieces that came up and grabbed them at the back so that they could stand, you know, like you would actually need. Instead, I have to use this Revoltech base, which is kind of the perfect size, and it works perfectly on this figure, to be honest, so I'm pretty happy with that. But it's ridiculous that a proper base to actually house the figure wasn't included. I think that that's just such a no-brainer, obviously. She stands just under the tiniest bit under 7 inches tall, which is definitely a shame. I would have preferred this to be in scale with the actual puppet replicas from the film. The film is done, all of the Laika films are done in a 1:6 scale, and therefore their main characters, like Coraline, is about 9 inches tall. She's a kid, so obviously she's not going to be the full 12 inches like an adult would be. So this should be like a 9-inch figure, maybe slightly less than that. So to have it slightly less than 7 inches is definitely disappointing, considering they're so close to it being, you know, an accurate scale, but yet not quite there. So overall, the set I do like. I think that it is missing some things, like a proper base. I think that there's some accessories that Coraline should have come with that would have been cool, like the vest that she wears over her pajamas for the climactic, you know, ending. I think that would have been nice. The little triangle piece that she looks through, I think that would have been a cool accessory. The doll of her, all of these things she uses when she's wearing the pajamas, so I think that those would all be pretty necessary. The blanket's a nice piece, though. I'm glad that they did include the blanket. And then the extra faceplates from the other figures that they have done, I think are completely necessary as well. So it's definitely a shame that those weren't included. I think that the box display is a nice idea. I don't particularly use it though. I don't, you know, it's not that great. But it's nice that it is included. And the lights in it, I do find kind of unnecessary. I thought that they would be cool, but unfortunately they don't work very well. They're not that bright, first of all, and then they don't just shine through the window. They shine through the bottom of the box too, which just kind of breaks the illusion, which isn't fun. So overall, I am still very happy I did get this. I didn't go to San Diego Comic-Con. I did buy this on eBay for $67, so I did spend more than I wanted to. This retails, I believe, for $40, and this might be released to Toys R Us. Sometimes NECA does release their exclusives to Toys R Us, so you might be able to pick this up at actual retail, but I did pay quite a bit over retail, unfortunately. However, I was definitely very much wanting this figure, and I'm very excited to have it in my collection, and I cannot wait for the future of Laika products from NECA. Very excited for that, and because I'm a big fan of the Laika company in general. So let me know what you guys think of this figure, and if you guys plan to get it, and if you guys plan to get the future Laika figures from NECA. And thanks so much for watching.